from Toronto Danforth.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question to the Premier. Last week, Krista wrote to the NDP to tell us about her soaring hydro bills. She lives in Nipissing, and she's on a fixed income of $800 per month. The hydro bill she sent us was for $450.51. How does the Premier expect Krista to live and pay hydro at the same time when her bills are so high?
Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I'm very pleased to rise and talk about Ontario's Fair Hydro Plan that is coming, Mr. Speaker. That's going to help individuals like the individual that the honourable member mentioned. Come this summer, Mr. Speaker, once we get the legislation through this House, Mr. Speaker, we could see up to 25% in reductions for families like that, Mr. Speaker, for individuals like that was mentioned. On top of that, Mr. Speaker, if this person is a Hydro One customer or another customer of one of the other 6 utilities that we've identified, their distribution costs are going to come down significantly, Mr. Speaker, bringing forward their rate of reduction to anywhere between 40% and 50%, Mr. Speaker. That is huge relief, Mr. Speaker, for these types of families. On top of that, we expanded the Ontario Electricity Support Program, adding another 50% and actually loosening the rules so more people will qualify. That is a significant saving of about $554 on top of that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Again to the Premier. Krista already takes advantage of the Ontario Electricity Support Program, the Rural Rate Protection Program, and is exempt from being charged for debt retirement. She still has to choose between paying her hydro bills and buying food. Clearly, the Premier and her Liberal government aren't doing enough for people like Krista. When will the Premier stop with the partisan posturing and actually present a detailed plan in the legislature to fix the system she has helped to create in our hydro system?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, the Ontario Electricity Support Program that the member mentioned that this individual has been able to take advantage of, Mr. Speaker, has increased by 50%. That will be a significant savings for this family. And with the RRP, if you put that together, Mr. Speaker, this is significant savings that families are going to see, that individuals are going to see, come summer, Mr. Speaker. And that's when, of course, our system peaks in terms of our costs and generation. So we're going to make sure, Mr. Speaker, that we're helping these families. But there are other programs in place through the Ontario Fair Hydro Plan that are actually going to help families and individuals. On top of the 25% that every small business and farm is going to qualify for, we're bringing forward an affordability fund that they will be able to access, Mr. Speaker, that will actually help them drop their bills even further, Mr. Speaker.
Final supplementary.
Again to the Premier. The Premier has not tabled legislation in this House so that Ontario families and businesses know when or if relief is coming. The only thing the Premier has done to deal with exorbitant hydro rates in the province is announce that maybe, sometime in the vague future, she will burden our kids and grandkids with an additional $40 billion in debt that they will have to pay off. When will the Premier do something to help people like Krista and thousands of families, businesses that are suffering under the crushing weight of their hydro bills?
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, very pleased to come and talk about what we are going to do for families and individuals like Krista. 25% off on average on their bills, Mr. Speaker, by summer. If they are RRP customers, between 40% and 50%, Mr. Speaker, by summer. Enhanced OESP, 50%. Affordability Fund, Mr. Speaker, bringing that forward up to $200 million. On reserve First Nations individuals, Mr. Speaker, are seeing their distribution costs waived. An $85 a month savings for these families, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, that is very clear relief that is coming for families right across the province. But I know the honourable member used the term vague. The only party that has a vague plan, Mr. Speaker, is the third party. It's a vague plan, Mr. Speaker, with pie in the sky thinking, nothing to do to help families or low-income individuals right away.
Thank you. No question, the member from Leeds, Grenville.
Thanks, Speaker. My question